Welcome, everybody, to our regular public council meeting of Monday, July 20th, 2020. And I'll call our meeting to order. I don't have my hammer. I'll do it with my hand. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Glant are joining us by telephone, and Councillor Martin will as well. I just want to advise the public that even though we are here now back in our chamber tonight for our meeting, that as of right now, we still can't allow any public. We just don't have the space. And for the people here that you can't see, the CAO, Director of Infrastructure Public Works, Director of Planning, and our Deputy Clerk are here out of camera sight. I know somebody mentioned to me they didn't know who was at the last meeting, so it's nice to be able to let everybody know who's here. Councillor Roach, Councillor Thorngass, and Councillor Pollard, along with myself, are here in person. Our Q&A sessions, the way we've been doing it is that people can still submit questions to Don at dchaplin@torbay.ca. Any questions that are submitted prior to the agenda being adopted can be addressed in our first Q&A session. Any questions that come in during the meeting will be placed on our Q&A session at the end of the meeting, as per normal process. I guess if you were sitting here in the chambers and you thought of a question that you wanted to ask at the end, you would raise your hand at the end and get put on there. So I guess sending an email is the same thing as expressing your thought, I guess. So with that, I think I will ask, is there any additional items to the agenda? And I will start with Councillor Pollard.
Pass.
Pass. Councillor Thorngass.
Pass.
Pass. Councillor Roach.
Pass.
Pass. Myself, I got a thanks. Oops. Councillor Glenn.
Just a quick thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you fine, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you as well, Mayor.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks by me. And Councillor Martin, I don't think you're on yet. No, so he'll be passing. Any questions submitted, Don, yet? No, okay. With that, a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please.
So moved.
Councillor Pollard, Councillor Roach second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Opposed? None. All righty. Moving on. First thing we have is public council meeting minutes dated June 15th and the 17th, 2020. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
So moved. And seconded by Councillor Thorngass. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, opposed? None. Carried. What's next here? Conflict of interest. Does anybody have any conflict they need to declare on any item coming up in the council package? Seeing none, move on. Proclamations. We don't have any proclamations, no presentations, no Q&A. Mayor's report. To be honest with you, I don't have one done up today. I'm on holidays. I squeaked my way to get here tonight, so I think that there's enough on our agenda anyway to suffice. So with that, I will forego the mayor's report for tonight. And business arising report. We moved those into committees, right? Okay. Just moving on really quick. Correspondence. We have correspondence here from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. This is about letter partners for climate change protection. So we will forward that to planning. CO? Okay. Eastern Regional Service Board, we have a letter here about the kidney care program, and we will also put that to planning. We have a letter writing campaign emergency operational funding here from Municipalities, Newfoundland, Labrador. And this is about the letter writing campaign that municipalities are writing to try and encourage the federal government to support municipalities with operational funding due to COVID-19. So what they're asking is that the town write a letter, and I think that we should do that. I would recommend that we do it. I think we need to get a motion for that, right, Don? We should do that right now, get it over it. Does somebody like to make a motion for that, please?
Your Worship, I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Deputy Mayor.
The
Seconder,
town of Torbay participate in the letter writing campaign emergency operational funding initiative led by Municipalities Newfoundland Labrador. So moved.
okay,
Second.
seconded by Councillor Pollard. Anybody have any comments or questions, or would you like to say something about that, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'd just like to second your comments there, Mayor, about the importance of this initiative. There are a lot of people who are impacted by COVID, and it's also impacting municipalities and their ability to do the work that's very needed in our communities. So this is important, and the more support that we can get, the better. And I feel it's important for us as the town of Torbay to be a part of that movement to make sure that the voices of municipalities are heard. And I really support us moving in this direction.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comment on that? I think that the main objective behind this is, I don't think a lot of people in the general public in particular understand that when municipalities lose money or we incur additional expenses because of COVID-19, and a lot of people have felt this in their own families, having to buy extra sanitizer and these things, and it all adds extra cost. And those type of costs for municipalities, it's not like we can borrow that money to cover operational costs. It's the money that we receive from our regular revenues. So I think it's very important, and I fully support it. So I guess all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Thank you. So we'll get that letter done up, and I'll sign it and we'll send it off. Thank you. We have an update here from Municipal Assessment Agency. 20 update for July 16th, and we'll put that to finance. And we have, Don and I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago now. This next correspondence is about the digital technology supercluster, and it's a project, and it's called Looking Glass, Protecting Canadians in a Return to Community. And the company doing this reached out to me and to Don to see if our town would be interested in a pilot project. There's no cost to us. We had a meeting and an interview, and basically what they're doing is they're creating software package to enable municipalities to be able to make sound decisions with regard to COVID-19 and potentially other crisis type things going into the future. This technology is expandable, and it's there's quite a few partners in there. I think it's all listed in that in those letters. It was very interesting, and we had a good meeting, and it's nice for us. I think we're the only municipality in Newfoundland Labrador that are participating in this. So it was nice to be asked, and I think that it was good for us to be able to be involved. So I don't think I have any much more to say about that. Anybody have any questions about it?
I'll just get a quick question, Mr. Mayor. I just want to
Sure.
confirm where is the listing of the companies involved?
It's in the letter, I believe.
Sorry, I missed that. Can you tell me the page? I'm struggling to find it here.
It's under correspondence 6.5, correspondence supercluster. So it just talks about where to, what the next steps are. Basically a description of the project. And I think somewhere in there it talks about who's involved in this digital supercluster. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just making sure there's no connection to any
Oh, yes.
related or
Yeah.
that I'm involved with, right?
Oh, I hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything there that's anywhere related to stuff I do, so okay.
Okay.
I can't find it still. Is it page 6.0 or what do you say?
It's page.
On
It's
page 64, really. Digital Technology Supercluster gives a list of the project description and the folks who are taking part in it at the present time, were the groups.
Yeah.
And the other one for the COVID is the same.
That's part of it, yeah.
That's part of it, so, okay.
All right. Okay, so that's there. We'll, I don't know exactly where that's going to go down, which committee that falls under. Probably corporate services, I would think, is it? Or it probably encompasses everybody.
Mayor, I believe we've spoken about this before, but I can't remember. Is there a cost associated with the supercluster?
No.
No. Okay, thank you. I just want to confirm that.
Okay.
Mr.
Right.
Mayor, I've got a question. So what's our commitment for this?
Our commitment, we already did it. We did an interview and we went through a survey for them to gather information about our town to include in the data set.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. It's interesting. And I guess as we find out more about it, we'll find out more about it. All righty. Moving on. Committees of council. Committee to hold. There's set of committee to hold minutes here from June 29th, 2020. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please? Motion by
Second.
Councilor Goss, second by Councilor Pollard. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I abstain because I wasn't here.
You can still vote on the minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Opposed? None. Carried. Thank you. Committees of council, Planning Land Use Development Committee, Councilor Thorne Goss. Take it away. Can you turn on your microphone, Mary, please?
There.
There you go.
19 Motion Lane, C20 20-056, greenhouse permitted and root cellar discretionary, RMD land use zone. The town is in receipt of a discretionary use application proposing to construct a 22 by 1 meter by 2.1 meter root cellar at 19 Motion Lane to be used in conjunction with a greenhouse for personal use. The committee had no objection to the proposal and noted that it solely related to a proposed root cellar and no longer included a proposed chicken coop. It was further noted that root cellars and greenhouses are commonly used to only grow and store vegetables, and since the keeping of chickens was no longer part of the proposal, pest control was not a regulatory requirement. The committee concurs with the department subject to moving the pest control requirement and recommends in accordance with Regulation 33 and 90. A conditional approval to be issued for the proposed root cellar at 19 Motion Lane, subject to removing the pest control requirements, however, keeping the conditions as outlined in associated departmental background report, and therefore recommends tabling the following motion. Motion to approve application C2020-056 in accordance with the RMD land use requirements as well as Regulation 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, and to issue a conditional approval as per conditions outlined in attached departmental background report However, to remove the condition for pest control as root cellars and greenhouse solely deal with vegetables. So moved.
Second.
Mover, seconder, questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
This one for Black.
Aye.
Councillor Glenn?
I said aye.
Okay, thank you. I think it must have been at the same time. Opposed?
Yeah, I think it was simultaneous aye there, yeah.
All right. Opposed? None. Carried.
4 Blackberry Crescent, C2020-042, residential garage, CM land use zone. Town is in receipt of the discretionary use application proposing to construct a 16 by 12 accessory building for residential use to be located in the northeast quadrant of the subject property. The committee noted that only one inquiry and no written representations were received, therefore concurs with the department and recommends tabling the following motion. Motion to approve application C2020-042 in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulation 2015 to 2025, and to issue a conditional approval as per conditions outlined in attached departmental background report. So moved.
Mover,
Second.
seconded by Councillor Pollard. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
137 Indian Mead Line, BR 2020-007, home occupation dog grooming, RMD use land. The town of Torbay is in receipt of discretionary use application proposing to use 8 square meters of the existing dwelling to operate a dog grooming business. The committee noted that no representations were received, concurs with the department supports the conditional approval of the application and therefore recommends tabling the following motion. Motion to approve application BR 2020-007 in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, and to issue a conditional approval as per conditions outlined in attached departmental background report. So moved.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Roach. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carried.
125 Country Drive, BR 2020-005, home office plumbing, heating, construction business, RMD use zone. The town of Torbay is in receipt of a discretionary use application proposing to establish a home office for business providing plumbing and heating repairs, maintenance, and new construction. The committee noted that there are 4 non-resident employees proposed with the application, and therefore inquired about provision of sufficient off-street parking, particularly since the road is narrow in the area and the committee would not support any associated parking along the shoulder of the road. It was requested that the department confirm off-street parking provision prior to this matter coming forward for decision. Since the committee meeting, the department has confirmed that there are 2 driveways in subject property providing sufficient off-street parking, and the proponent has since clarified in writing that they are living at the property and one of them is the business owner, that there are currently no additional employees. They are hoping that once the business grows, they may have up to 4 employees. However, they would be dispatched to project sites and will not be working from the home office. Based on this, the department is satisfied with the proposal, that the proposal will not attract traffic to the area. The department also notes one of the conditions of approval would be that any parking associated with the home office is to be provided off-street. Based on the application information outlined above and in the attached departmental background report, the following motion is proposed. Motion to approve application BR 2020-005 in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, and to issue a conditional approval as per conditions outlined above and in attached departmental background report. So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Pollard. Comments or questions?
I just think in relation to that motion, there's more information in part of the report. If my memory serves me right, that this person actually has 2 driveways,
Yeah.
I think. All right, okay. Did you read that already?
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, sorry. I'll go back to sleep now, never mind. I did second it, though.
Oh, that's good.
Any other questions?
So I'm having Councillor Glenn, I'm having a bit of a hard time hearing, so just in summary, the parking situation is they're going to,
They have 2 driveways at the location, so there'll be no on-street parking.
right. Okay. And that, there's no issue with that?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, opposed? None? Carried.
Swimming pool regulations, development regulations amendments, swimming pool safety as per Newfoundland Power brochure. The department have received a number of inquiries regarding municipal regulations around residential swimming pools. In addition to a brochure by Newfoundland Power was received outlining swimming pool safety considerations, which have since been posted in Torbay on the Torbay website. The town of Torbay does currently not regulate swimming pools. However, staff believe that this is a safety concern and that it would be beneficial to research other municipalities to then amend the Torbay Development Regulation 2015 to include permitting requirements for residential swimming pools. The committee fully supports proceeding and developing regulations around residential swimming pools. The committee believes that in addition to regulating the placement of residential swimming pools, similarly to other accessory use such as greenhouses and sheds, it may also be beneficial to develop some guidelines around residential pools that may reference restrictions on using municipal water during times of water shortages and dry periods, similarly to the watering of lawns, etc. The committee supports proceeding with recommending the development regulations to specify conditions for the placement of residential swimming pools on residential lots and to develop associated guidelines for information brochure, and recommends tabling this at the upcoming public meeting of council. Motion to undertake a text amendment to Torbay Development Regulations 2015-2025 to specify conditions for the placement of residential swimming pools subsequent to departmental staff researching other area municipalities in best practices, and to also develop an associated information bulletin on residential pools. So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Roach. Any questions or comments? Councillor Roach, yeah.
I'll speak to that.
Go ahead.
Because I got this wrong at the email from one of our residents about safety over at Whiteways Pond, which is a totally not a public or a private swimming place.
Oh, Councillor Roach, can you turn your microphone on, please?
Oh, can I bring
it up now, or will I bring it up after?
You can do it now if you want.
Okay. And because I'm fairly active over there, myself, my family, and a lot of friends, I think that the person was darn right in exactly, we don't have anything over there, you know. And I know if you put something over there and leave it out, it's going to be taken. And you'll see it floating down the waterfalls there or something like that, right? So there's got to be a way that we can either have a locked shed or something like that, because if somebody does get in trouble out in the water, and thank God there are people who can swim and help out at that, but if you need a ring or something like that and whatever, we don't have it. And I know it's not supposed to be a swimming pool, but I don't care. You can't deny. Today there was about 150 people over, and they weren't from here, not all of them. So I mean, it's growing, and it could be a really good asset. But
Don did respond to that resident's
Okay,
inquiry
that's good. Thanks.
and gave them the, I guess, the explanation as to why it is the way it is over there.
Yeah.
and
Yes, I did read that.
and the advice that we had been given. So I think that, it's always open to additional exploration of what is we can do, but as it is right now, it's how it is what
Yeah.
it is.
And with the motion that's being made now, and I agree with it, maybe there's a little something that the fire department or some department, maybe our own rec committee or something could put off. And just to keep parents and people who have swimming pools around their homes, it's very easy to drown and fall over a table and steer your dead in the water.
Yeah.
But anyway, to just let people know that these things are happening all the time. Thank God we haven't had them here
Right.
yet.
Yeah.
So that's maybe I just put that thought out there. I'm back again. I'm talking too much. I know.
Sorry.
Shut up.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments regarding swim pool regulations?
Mayor, it's
Go ahead.
Thank you. I really support the idea of having regulations for swimming pools. They can absolutely be a danger without proper parameters in place. However, I just have one question. Maybe we ask Councillor Thorngoss to speak to. I know there was a discussion when I attended the meeting about people who already have pools, and what would that look like? Is there a certain size that we'd have to consider, for anyone who's already got a pool in their property? Is there going to be, like, the idea of a grandfather clause? And the reason I'm asking the question, somebody may have a pool, but now, they may have to incur the cost to have a fence to put it in. So I'm just curious if Councillor Thorngoss could speak a little bit to the discussion they had around that, because there was good discussion at the committee meeting. And I thought that was important for residents to understand that part of it, please.
Okay.
We
That-
talked about
go
grandfathering existing pools, but at the same time, if you're going to get insurance on your pool, you're required to have it fenced in,
Yeah.
and that's part of obtaining insurance. So if there's people out there that want to get insurance and they haven't got it fenced in, but we said that there'd be a certain size, and that yet to be determined what size pool that you would require this, because there's very small ones compared to very large ones.
Yeah.
And that's something that we need to be included in our best practices when our director does some more research.
I could probably give a little bit of insight on that, because I do have a pool in my backyard, and it's a large one. It's 21 feet, and it's 5 feet deep, and it's permanent, stays up all year round. Now, it's not a permanent as per se, but it is permanent. But when I did install that, and I've had a pool in my yard for 10 years now or more, but my whole entire backyard is fenced in, it's gated, it has locks on the gates, and I did that because when I lived in Ottawa, I knew what the pool regulations were because my neighbor had one. And when I did install mine, I called my insurance company and advised them that I had it, and they told me what I needed to do to make sure that it was fenced and all that. So anybody that's inquired with me over the last number of years about pools, and I said, lacking any town regulations, what I would advise you is to call your insurance company and let them know that you definitely have this, and they will advise you of what it is that you need to do. So I think that should, and I'm fully supportive of these pool regulations. And even, the only question I would have, I guess, if we're looking at it from a perspective of similar to a shed or a greenhouse, does that take up any of your square footage with regards to accessory building, right? So that type of thing. So other than that, I'm fine with it. And with regards to grandfathering, I think that if we have regulations, everybody must follow them, no matter if you already have a pool or not.
Right.
Like if there's parameters around safety, but not with the piece of installing it because you already have it. So I guess staff will figure all that out.
Yeah.
I'm fully confident.
One more point, Mayor,
Yeah.
if I could, please. I think it's important. All of these points are very important. I still feel very strongly we should move forward with this. But I'm just wondering if maybe as part of the looking into this that we may not want to consider some public engagement and giving people the opportunity who do have pools to provide some feedback to the town and staff. So as they're putting together the regulations, residents would have the opportunity to have a voice. As we move forward, I know that, we have to look at safety first and foremost, but I think it's important to do some public engagement if possible around this as well.
I think that's probably a good idea. Anytime we're changing regulations to do anything, it's not a bad idea to get some public feedback on it.
I think so. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
I wasn't going to comment because I understand this is at the initial stages and
Right.
we're just going to look for information. It's going to come back for discussion anyway. But my only cost on this is the fact that we're delving into something here that is certainly outside of our area of expertise. I certainly support having regulations. Just let's be cognizant that a swimming pool construction requires some type of inspection around it as well, which is not part of what the town does. So I'm sure that'll all come back anyway. And like I say, I expect that once the information comes back, we'll review all those things anyway, as well as all the conversations that we're here.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None? Carried.
Public notification policy, minor amendment. The committee noted that over the past 2 months, the department had the opportunity to apply council's recently adopted public notification policy on a number of discretionary use applications. The Planning and Development Department recommends to apply minor adjustments to the wording of the public notification policy to make the application process more time and cost efficient for both applicants and staff, particularly as it relates to residential variances and discretionary uses, which have the potential to mainly affect properties in the immediate vicinity of the subject property versus larger circle. The department believes that publication in the newspaper for residential variances is excessive, as well as the radius for mail-out notifications can be reduced in certain circumstances, as really only neighboring property owners may be affected. The proposed amendment would reduce costs for newspaper ads for residential variants and large postal mailouts, as public notification now includes social media postings, etc. The committee supports the amendment but recommends that the wording around the mail-out notification radius be rephrased to be a minimum of 100 meters and a maximum of 150 meters. With that addition, the committee supports proceeding with the minor text amendment to the public notification policy and recommends tabling the following motion. Motion to undertake a minor text amendment to council's existing public notification policy as attached and tabled. So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second by Councillor Pollard. Any questions on that?
I have a comment, Your Worship.
Yeah.
I understand that the current radius to be considered is the 150 meter radius that we're currently using. My concern here is that not everybody is on Facebook or social media to read or know what's happening all the time. And I feel that I understand the want to decrease cost for the applicant, but if the applicant is very serious about starting a business, then the difference of the 50 meter buffer to make sure that there's no complaints and no concerns about increase of anything to do with their business operation in the community. I think we really should be thinking about keeping the standard that we have so that if residents can be more aware of what's happening in their neighborhoods, they can have a say. Because once we've approved it, then you have complaints and people come back and, well, I didn't know about that. And I think, I've done business development for years, and if you're, serious and you're organizing yourself and you're about to start something, then making sure that you start off on the right foot and people know what you're doing is definitely important. And the more people that know that you're there, depending on your business, could also increase your clientele. So I won't be supporting this motion. I feel that we need to stay with what we have and ensure, because this to me is a discretion of, do we allow for the 100 meters? Do we go to 150? I'm not 100% sure that that's in the best interest of the residents or the town. So I really feel that we need to keep it with the 150 meter radius, and I don't feel comfortable supporting this motion this evening. Those are my comments.
Any other comments? Councillor Torngas?
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, hang
We-
on. Hang on, Councillor Glenn. Councillor Torngas, go ahead.
We had said that 100 meters versus maximum of 150 meters, depending on what was that we were looking at advertising for.
Right.
Could be something as a root cellar, or that may not take the same potential as a major business opening up. So that gave some discretion rather than moving it back to automatically 100 meters. That gives the discretion on going at a bigger radius, depending on how big the application is.
Okay. And that was my thought.
But there's nothing in this motion that allows for which criteria would be applied to the 100 or the 150. And there is potential here for residents to come back and say, well, no, this guy opened a business and you only charge him this, but now you're charging me that. And it's whose discretion? Staff's discretion. And I think it can make it an opportunity where we're creating an opportunity where it's difficult for our staff then, based on the discretion. You know, it's not consistent for all businesses in all neighborhoods across the board. And then someone makes the wrong decision and puts in a 100 meter when maybe it should have been 150, and someone's getting wrapped on the knuckles. I feel it's an extra layer of confusion for people.
All right,
that's
hang on.
absolutely minimized the amount of interaction with the community.
All right, hang
so
on,
I really
Deputy
feel
Mayor.
that
Deputy Mayor? You already spoke to this once, so I got to stop you there. I'm sorry.
right. I just think that we need to think about that
Deputy Mayor.
because it's not really written to.
Okay.
It's not going. It's not work the way it's written.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Glenn?
Yes, I'm a little surprised at this. I don't understand why we would want to add in a max of 150 meters. Listen, we have to engage the public, and we have to get their opinion. And sometimes people don't like the opinion. Sometimes they do, but it doesn't matter. We got to engage them. Those letters. We got to send out those letters as far as we can to make sure that we have the best community possible. And again, like I guess Deputy said, not everyone's on Facebook or wants to be on Facebook for all various reasons, and they're going to be reliant on checking the local newspapers or basically have some assurance that, hey, listen, if there's something happening in my neighborhood, then I'm going to be notified of it, especially if it's controversial or it's discretionary. So there's no way I would support the limiting of doing something like this for the cost of a stamp or for all these. So again, these are little minute costs that have the best bang for the buck to make sure we engage our residents, right? So we don't want to do anything wrong. We want to hear from them, right? This is very important. So if we're trying to cut costs for things, we should look at the big items and not the small items that actually impact neighborhoods on the street, right? So I don't know why we want to maximize it at 100 meters. It's important to get input from everybody.
All right, thank you. I think that there's some, for at least from my mind, there's some confusion here. We already had a maximum of 100, and we increased it to 150. That's in our regulations. That's how it works. I'm thinking of, and I know the Deputy Mayor talked about businesses, right? I'm thinking about the person that wants to build a root cellar, or they want to get a 5-foot variance on their building lot so they can build a house. And instead of our committee and our staff being able to say, you know what, this doesn't really impact anybody except for these people, the motion is going to come forward to council. If there's a issue at the time of the motion, we could always make an amendment to make it go further. But why would we want to, somebody wants to put up a greenhouse and it's discretionary use, and now we're going to depend on where it is in the town. That could cost $2,000 extra to do all that advertising in the paper and all the mail-outs and everything for somebody to be able to put up a greenhouse to grow a few vegetables. I think that our staff are good and our committee will do their job, and they'll look at these things and say, if it is something that's controversial, because we need to go out to the maximum on this, and sometimes maybe we need to even do a full town mail-out, depending on what it could be. So, I'm comfortable with this as it is, and that to try and reduce the cost on some minor applications with minor discretionary, issues with regard to council, like distances and stuff like that, as opposed to something that would be a huge impact, like a big business getting built. Like, there's, that's why it's discretion. Council always has discretion at the end. We can increase that to whatever we want when it comes forward. So I think it's fine like it is. But anybody else have any comments? Councillor Glant, you already spoke to the one.
Okay, I wanted clarification from that. That's fine.
What do you want a clarification on? You could
I'm
get,
just saying, so it says the addition, just I just wanted to be clear. So it says the minimum of 100 meters and maximum of 150 meters, right?
right.
So
If we don't change it, it says already now in our amendment 150 meters maximum. Is that right,
it's
Julie?
max, so it does say 150 meters max now.
We can always extend it,
Don't we?
depending on what it is.
Right. That I was under the impression that okay.
No,
Okay,
it's,
so what this is saying is not we're not going to limit it at 150.
no, we could do a town-wide mail out if we felt it was necessary as council.
Okay, just to rephrase, minimum of 100. Okay, I may have misread that.
Now I'm confused now.
Okay.
It says wider area in the regulations, does it not? Or what are the current regulations?
The regulations currently do not specify the radius. They basically specify in the immediate vicinity of the subject property, and they give a time frame, like they say, you need to give people a minimum of 7 days. So really, the intent behind this proposed minor amendment is to make it easier for staff for a minor. We had quite extensive mailouts with the most recent applications, and some of them were 50 letters, and it just it's very time consuming for staff to stuff those letters, and especially on something that is just like a minor variance or that deals with a garage extension or something, and is not like. It basically gives some discretion to staff to say, well, this is a minor issue, and if there's any expectation of a potential traffic increase or noise or any of such thing, we would automatically go to the larger notification circle. So.
Okay. All right. So you're right, Tony. Right now, it doesn't specify any distance. We could just send it to the immediate neighbors if we wanted to, right? Yeah. Okay.
Right, and that's the point I was making, because I know that we try to use common sense for various things, but we make sure that we do it. I just had, my concern was adding in at max like that, and I just don't, that could come back to bite us, potentially, right? And I do agree with if something's completely minor, we don't need a full town mail out, but I don't want to see someone sitting at, meter 151, right?
I hear
so
you.
I don't think it's needed.
All right. Back to the chair.
Okay.
You got anything else to
I
add,
got
Mary?
nothing else to say. I think we've said it all.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Failed. 3 opposed, 3 for, and the amendment fails. So right now, our regulations say the immediate neighbors. Oh, whatever it is.
Mayor,
Mayor, can you ask staff to clarify? I understood in the meeting that it was 150 meters. That was the current rule of thumb that they were using. Has that been the current practice? Could you clarify that?
150 is what we've been using.
Radius.
No, it's not regulations.
It's not in regulations. It's just, it's a best practice.
Right, but that has been the best practice that we have followed, is it not?
Only for the last month. Before that, it was, we never had any specific number.
Okay.
300 meters. Diameter. Okay. So it was, prior it was 300 meter diameter, which is 150 meter radius. Just it wasn't written there.
Right.
Okay.
So could we ask committee to go back and provide examples of which sort of things are looking to provide different radiuses
Well,
for,
let's
then we
just-
could have we could
hang-
vote on?
All right, just hang on for a second. I'm going to get Julia to speak.
I just want to clarify, this is not an amendment to the regulations. The regulations are currently mute on a specific radius. It's at council's discretion to basically define what the immediate vicinity is. And as the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, prior Director of Planning and Development mentioned, the practice up to now has been, up to last month before the public notification policy came into effect, was to do the 150-meter radius for discretionary use applications, but for variances, for instance, it used to be a mail out to the immediate vicinity. So when the public notification policy came into effect at the last, or maybe 2 council meetings prior, basically it was to be consistent in the approach. That was the intent. And what was found is that in the past practice over the last month is that some of the mail-outs were very extensive. So they're time-consuming for staff and it's costly for the applicant because the cost gets recuperated. So the request really came from staff right now to give staff some discretion on the mail-outs to reduce the large mail-outs down to a smaller size when there is the belief that there's no significant traffic impact or any such impacts. This is not a proposed amendment to the regulations. This is just to deal with the general policy that council adopted recently.
Okay. You clear on that, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I did understand that at the meeting, but I was a guest and I didn't speak to it. I do feel, though, that if we could have parameters that would show if it's this, it would be this amount of space. So then that council can look at that and decide, okay, are we okay with that? So I feel the direction that we're heading in is something we could certainly discuss and continue to discuss. I just think there needs to be more clarification. So it's not a discretion piece, it's more of a, well, you know, if it's a root cellar or a shed, this is the radius you would go with. If it's something else, this would be the radius you'd go with. And then you've got a guideline that would protect staff and make sure that there's less opportunity for any complication. That was my point. That's all. I just feel there's more work to be done. I don't feel that there's anything wrong with it heading in this direction to have a discussion about how do we do it. I just felt there was more work needed before we brought this to council to provide a motion where there's discretion like that. That's all.
All right. So we can send that back to you guys and have a look at it. All right, thank you. Anything else in that planning?
Mayor, can you repeat the vote? I didn't get.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was 3, myself, Councillor Roach, and Councillor Goss in favor. Councillor Glant, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Pollard opposed. Okay. Now, Councillor Thorngoss.
The approvals in principle I do.
Not order for information purposes only. Yeah. Permits to operate, same thing.
All right, and how about the, yeah, that's it then.
Okay, so there's a lot of, there's a bunch of permits and stuff here that we have for the year to date. All that information is attached for council's information and for the public information. It's all up on the town website. Those would be permits that were issued over the counter and ones that council had previously approved. All the background information is there. Thank you. Admin and Finance. Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like everybody to bear with me as I wade through the paper and trying to find the pages and things of that nature. It takes a while to get back to this again. So from page 116, payroll for the period May 28th to the 10th of June for 31 employees total $72,542.41. Payroll for the period June 11th to the 24th of June for 32 employees total $73,000.13. Fire Department honorariums paid June 29 total $33,641.80. Their routine payments here greater than $5,000 are as follows. Receiver General of Canada payroll deductions May 16th to the 30th in the amount of $24,916.58. Payroll deductions for June 1st to the 15th in the amount of $23,892.66. Trio benefits for the June 2020 group benefits in the amount of $12,054.40. CIBC Mellon, which is May 2020 pension contributions in the amount of $19,336.16. Newfoundland Power for the May 20 group electricity bill is the amount of $12,104.14. And for Newfoundland Power street lighting and gateway sign in the amount of, for May, in the amount of $19,933.99. And T2 Ventures for May garbage and recycling in the amount of $42,771.95, all for a total of $155,009.88. So moved.
Second.
All right, just before we move on, Councillor Martin, you just log in?
Yes, I just came in 7:26 p.m. for the benefit of the minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, I don't think that was a motion. I think that's just there for information.
These these are they there for a motion, Tony? Yes.
They're over 5,000 now.
Yeah.
It says the following routine payments were made.
Yeah, I don't know if yeah, you're correct. We always approved them prior. I know we had conversations at admin finance that is sort of, they were paid anyway and they are doing payable regardless of whether or not we make motions of those. So we didn't, this is the first time that we actually didn't motion the ones that are there, right, Don?
Okay.
So it's fine as is. And if you want to,
pickup.
and we don't necessarily have to do that next time around if we don't want to, I guess.
All right.
Apologize for that.
Continue on.
Is that on our rules and regulations?
Sorry?
That has.
Do we have a motion to change from approving
We don't
our
have-
invoices over $5,000?
We didn't need
No.
a motion for them before. No. It's not part of, there's nothing on the books to say that we have to do that.
Actually, Deputy Mayor, those motions are already covered off by previous operational agreements and types. That's where that comes from, I think. Like Newfoundland Power obviously is a regular payment. T2 Ventures is under a contract and an award of tender. Receiver General are mandatory deductions based on payroll net that we approved, and as are the benefits, which is strictly a base on calculation base relating to payroll, and the pension benefits are the same way, and that's why I went that way. I have no problem with either way. I mean, some of these payments are made before it gets to council because of timing, like Receiver General remittances are made probably prior to us getting here just because of not incurring interest in that prior to approval, and they would be mandatory anyway.
Absolutely. We were changing how we do the business on this, and it's been a common practice. I didn't know if we needed a motion of council to change that, where has been our practice in the past. That's all. I was just curious to confirm that.
Yeah, let's take it back. We'll discuss it at the finance meeting next time, and we'll go from there. At least this time we did it the old way.
Okay. So
Excellent.
are we going to withdraw the motion, or are we going
no,
to?
no.
There's no motion.
There is.
Okay.
Oh, but you gonna withdraw it, Tony?
No,
Withdraw it?
no.
Or we're just gonna go ahead and vote on it anyway? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we vote, I have one question.
Yeah.
The trio benefits in the CIBC Mellon, I know those were something in particular that we have had discussions about taking back to RFP, and I just want to get an update on where we are on that, please.
We didn't, that was on the agenda for the last committee meeting, but because the meeting had to end at 9:30, we didn't discuss that item because there was follow-up information, so that's coming back to the next committee meeting.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. So this will be on the agenda for the next committee meeting.
Correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood. That's all.
All right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
None. Okay, carried.
That was the easy one. Anyway, next round these are the non-routine payments over $5,000. GFL Environmental for spring dumpsters. That was a spring cleanup in the amount of $17,526.33. Progressive Engineering and Consulting Inc., the second building for Upper Three Corner Pond Lights in the amount of $12,073.56. Stuart McKelvey, there are 3 invoices here, 2 relating to change orders for the community centre. First one in the amount of $5,578.65. One relating to the quarry development in the amount of $7,855.65. And another one relating to the community centre in the amount of $5,296.90. Tormont for backhoe repairs to our cat loader or backhoe in the amount of $5,729.45. Triware for the next billing of support hours in the amount of $5,750. And BDO Canada for the final 2019 audit bill in the amount of $13,972.50. All for a total of $73,783.04. So moved.
Mover, seconder?
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
There are some,
Opposed? None. Okay, carried.
sorry, Your Worship.
It's all right.
There are some motions here now that relate to some of the projects that we have on the go. First motion is that the Town of Torbay award the tender 2020-007 Upper Three Corner Ball Field Lighting to Eastern Contracting Limited for $534,750. Total project including engineering is $583,044.25, which is $83,044.25 over budget, and the project is scheduled to be financed. So moved.
Mover,
Second.
seconded by Deputy Mayor. Councillor Pollard, any comments on that? Anybody else? Any comments, questions?
No, all I say is that we got a good return. I think we got,
Hang on, Councillor Glenn. Go ahead, Councillor Pollard.
I was going to say, we got a number of returns in Eastern Contracting. Well, it was the lowest, so unfortunately it did come in over, but.
All right. Councillor Glenn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got some concerns. So I love the fact that we're trying to invest in the ball field and get everything back to normal and all that. So I get it, and we voted on it, and we're going to do it. So don't take my comments or my concerns as context here. My concern is that we're $83,000 over budget on that. And again, we just talked about potentially limiting the mail out to residents to save a couple dollars here or there. And this is one of the examples that again I say all the time. Sometimes when numbers are so big, we tend to go with them like what's $83,000 versus but that $83,000 is a significant amount of money on a $500,000 project. And my concern about that in particular this year with COVID and I guess later on down our agenda, we're going to be talking about a projected $1 million potential cash shortfall that we might run into. And so also knowing that, a lot of the ball field activities have been put on pause and there's lots of uncertainty around that. And it seems, I'm just concerned that we're going to go forward with, a $600,000 project that we're going to put on the credit card when we're projecting $1 million cash deficit and everything's on hold. Kind of the old, it's like the Simpsons building the escalator to nowhere, right? Or the highway to nowhere type of thing. We're going to be building lights this year in dire fiscal times, and it's not even going to be activities. So what I was wondering, it might behoove us in this case, given the circumstances, especially when this came in over and, all the different things we're facing, the over budget and the projected shortfalls and the activities. Is this something that we could wait? Because we're not, we could actually install these lights next year and make them part of the big budget process, and then we'd actually have a more accurate picture of where we're going to be with regards to our fiscal position, right? So I just feel weird kind of putting this money on our credit card before we get a final outcome of our cash crunch, and it's something that we could legitimately put off until next year. So it would seem that would be that would make the most sense. Would it not?
Finished? Go ahead.
It is a 5-year project at the present time. I guess the anticipated life of the ball field lights will probably be over 15 years. The outlay will be additional 83,000 plus whatever the financing is over a 5-year period, as opposed to 83,000 in any 1 year. This year is a great year actually to do the ball field lights because nobody is using the field or it's limited use, and there'll be lots of opportunity to do what needs to be done in a uninterruptible fashion. So once people decide to come back to some type of normal operational life, then they'll have a ball field that is usable without disruption once they do get back there. So, I think that it's doable. Who knows, might come in under budget. We may come in over budget too once it's done, but I think that the order of magnitude from the number of returns we got is there anyway, regardless of what it is. I don't see, and you're mixing up when you talk about the cash flow being $1 million down, that's operational cash flow. It's no different than what we were projecting at the beginning of the year. As a matter of fact, we're going to show some $283,000 surplus. We're actually $283,000 better off cash-wise if we looked at our total cash position in terms of that's our investments and our operating cash. So to say that we're just $1 million just only looks at one piece of the pie, not the full picture. I'm fine with the way it is, but once again, I'm one vote.
Okay. Anybody else have any comment or
Yeah.
question?
Your Worship, can I speak to this one, please?
Sure, go ahead.
My understanding of this has been that it's a safety issue for people using the ball field. And my understanding has been that there are lights that are in there on poles that may end up, falling down if people are in there. And to Councillor Gallant's point, I think he raises a very good point in that we need to be very, very careful to ensure that, any cost overruns, especially $80,000, which is a lot of money to the taxpayers, is balanced against when we spend it and why. So I'm wondering if staff could speak to the concerns that Councillor Gallant has raised, which I think are good ones about us spending the money this year, against the potential safety risk of anyone being hurt, because you don't have to have the field be at maximum capacity to have someone in there using the upper 3 facility and possibly be in there if something were to happen with the state of those poles. So could we just have someone provide an update to us about the safety risk that's associated with this and any potential that would be a result of if this were delayed? I just want to understand better the return and what does that mean for us as far as that's concerned, please?
I think the Director of Public Works could probably speak to the safety part of the poles that are falling down in there. We had one that cracked off last year, I know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So my understanding is that one did crack off last year, and right now the netting is actually tied to the lighting poles as well, which is not the correct way to do it. So with the new lighting system, there'll be separate poles for lights and the existing poles that will be able to be maintained for the netting only.
All right, thank you. And Councillor Pollard already spoke to our CAO has something to add there.
There are several
I have a
safety.
question when I name.
Councillor Martin?
Thank you.
Hang on.
My question,
Councillor
I
Martin.
guess it's more on the public works side.
Councillor Martin? Not yet.
Can you hear? Oh, sorry.
CAO?
There are several safety assessments completed on the infrastructure at the senior ball field, dating 23 years ago, 15 years ago, and within the last 2 years. It is a budgeted item. It is a borrow, but it is a safety issue. I mean, we're working on borrowed time now, and to Councillor Pollard's point, it's best to make best use of time that the field is not in use, so the upgrades can take place without any additional safety concerns or deferring or delaying any use of field.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, did you hear what CAO just said?
I did. Thank you for the clarification, because I guess the point that I was just wanting to make sure before we voted was that, the safety threat is imminent if there are people using the field or not right now. I really think that Councillor Gallant had a good point, so I just wanted to make sure that we were understanding the whole picture before we had the vote.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Martin, you can go ahead
Thank you,
now.
apologies, Mayor, I wasn't aware the other parties weren't finished talking.
You couldn't see me pointing to you to stop?
That's right. There's a delay on the video, so I'm not watching.
Oh, okay.
No, my commentary, I still don't understand why, due to COVID, and we just came back from winter and whatnot, the softball field hasn't been used yet, but this has been going on for quite some time. So I'm curious as to why we haven't closed the softball field, if the lights are a risk, and if someone's in there, they could fall and injure them. And, it's almost willful negligence on our part by not closing them. So really, the bigger conversation, before we get our details in order with financing and replacement, we need to have a conversation about closing that area off to the public until it's deemed safe to do so.
Well, I'm pretty confident. I notice every year we go in there and we get an assessment done to make sure the field is ready for operational use. So if there's any safety issue imminent safety issue identified at that point, then it's repaired and it's fixed so that it's safe to use for that season. And it's always checked. So we're not doing anything that we shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm not sure if it's been checked this year enough, but the way the conversation is going with approval for the funding is what we're talking as if it's not safe now, and it's getting ready to get in the state disrepair. So I guess we got to be clear. The current lifespan, is it safe to open this season, or would it be safe to open next season, or are we at a point now where should it be discontinued, or is it okay for another 3 to 4 years? I guess those are the kind of things that would be appreciated to be known before voting on.
I think the reason that we have a safety assessment that was done 23 years ago, and another one that was done 15 years ago, and another one that was done 2 years ago, and new ball field lights put in the budget every year for the last 12 or 15 years, is because when it comes time to actually do it, council decides not to do it. So that's kind of why we're in the situation we're in. And with that, I am going to send it back to, or I'm going to give it to Councillor Storngoss, sorry.
I noticed that everybody's talking about the poles in there and that they're in bad condition, but one of the bigger issues is that the lights themselves go off after they've been on for a period of time. So you can be in there playing softball and somebody can hit the ball or throw the ball, and by the time it gets to where it's going, there's actually no lights, or portion of the lights are gone. So it's not like it's just the poles. It's a matter of everything in there is giving out because it's been in there for so long. So you're right in that we can't use it for any tournaments, or once it gets dark, last couple of years has been issues and it's getting progressively worse. So just keep that in mind as well.
Okay. Anybody else have any comment? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Anybody opposed? Oh, unanimous. Nobody opposed. Carried. He didn't say.
No, I voted for the poll.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
We got to get it done. So let's not get too cute about it. I don't like the fact that it's over budget, but
I hear you.
it's just full of truth to it.
I hear you. Thank you very much. I couldn't see your hand up. I can this disjointed type of council meeting where some of us are here in person and some are not. It's a challenge, a little bit, but we'll handle it.
You're on a roll there, Mayor, though. You're doing it in good spirit. Good job.
We'll handle it. We'll handle it, and we've been through worse. All right, where are we to? Back to Councillor Pollard.
We're at number 3. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to ask that if we can defer that motion. We've got one quote. I would like to get some more. I think we can do a little better on the rate and in interest of budget and everything else. We may do better on the financing side of things. So.
What's for this, for number 4?
Okay.
Number 3.
That's the motion for the borough, is it?
This is the motion to borrow. We had originally a motion to borrow at 3.01% over 5 years on a 5-year term.
Okay.
We only get one quote on that. I would like to get some more.
All right. So you didn't put it forward, so we don't need to. We can just skip it.
But it wasn't taken off the list, so it has to be spoken to, I guess. Right?
All right. But we don't have to motion it and withdraw it or
No.
anything, do we? There was no
And-
motion made.
Typically defer, we do pass council does
Alright.
pass a motion to defer.
Okay, motion to defer,
Motion to defer, please.
second? Seconder, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
The next motion is relates to the Torbay culvert replacement, which is a gas tax project. So a motion that the town of Torbay award tender 2019-043, 2020 Torbay culvert replacement, DMAE number 261-2020-7047 to Dexter Construction Company Limited for $286,184.90. Total project including engineering is $309,173.45, which is $23,066.55 under budget. This project is funded through the federal gas tax agreement. So moved.
Mover,
Second.
seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any questions or anything on that? It's pretty straightforward.
It always amazes me that when we're talking about projects of, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if someone actually puts the pennies in at the end of it, I cringe every time I see it.
I know, it
Anyway,
costs us money for
it
running.
drives me nuts. But anyway, I digress. Next one is a motion that
Hang
town.
on now, let's vote on this
Sorry.
one first. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I think I heard 3 ayes on the phone. Opposed? Carried.
Next is a motion that the town of Torbay engage BDO under the fixed fee proposal to complete the ITC review of the community centre rebuild. The fee will range from $5,000 to $15,000. Final fee dependent on complexity of filing. So there is a range from, so moved, sorry.
Oh, okay. Mover, seconder?
Second.
Second, Deputy Mayor. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I was going to say, this is to engage BDO to come and look at the expenses of the community centre to file for tax credit. I forget what the I stands for now, but it relates to the HST portion that we don't get back. So we'll get back our GST and our HST rebates of approximately 57.571 and 0.5, so 10.7%. So we're dealing with 4.29% that we paid on the construction costs of the community centre, and that they're going to go back through all documentation to see which portions that would be eligible for that additional 4%, and that'll be based on some formula or some explanation of what the commercial side of that recreation centre is, and then we'd be eligible for that investment tax credit. And that's their fee, BDO's fee, to go about doing it. They did have another fee there that was based on a percentage, which obviously if they got back $100,000, then they get more. But under this fee here, I think we stand to certainly make more money back. We'll certainly recoup the $15,000. I'm certain of that, and that is where it is. So we just asked them to go that route, and I mean we got $9 million worth of construction costs. 4% of that is about $360,000 if it comes out to be that way. So half that, there could be substantial dollars here if it works out in our favor. And there's nobody internal that has the time and expertise to actually go about to piece that together themselves. So.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds like a good plan. Any other comments on that? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
As part of the community sustainability partnership with the province, we're required to file certain things on time. I think September 30th is the deadline this year to file the audit of financial statements and the 2019 tax recovery plan. So the tax recovery plan is there as presented. What it is essentially a list of the accounts receivable at the end of 2019, what our plan is to collect for this year in a format that the province once, and that is there as much as I'll say to at this point in time, so that the motion is going to be the town of Torbay adopt the 2019 tax recovery plan as presented. So moved.
Move. Seconder?
Second.
Deputy Mayor?
Sorry, I digress.
Did you want to
I
talk
explained
about that
already.
or not? It's just, it is what
No,
it is, right?
the only thing I say is that obviously the tax recovery plan is going to be really based on a number of things that we have going through the, I guess, the legal process at the present time with a couple of accounts, and as well, the fact that we're unsure as to where we'll stand by the end of the year from a COVID collections perspective. But right now, we seem to be doing okay. So the plan will be what it is, and it's almost to the end of the year now, and it'll be almost time for another one.
All right. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir.
The next is a motion that was just, actually, what are we doing?
There's actually two additional motions, Councillor Pollard,
Yep.
the RFP for the Economic Development Strategic Roadmap, and then the water system upgrades.
Thank you. Yep, okay, so we had talked about the Torbay Economic Strategic Roadmap during budget time, and we had some lengthy conversations on that, I know, and it went to RFP process and came back with the award the request proposal. I think Tract Consulting got it, did not? Should that not be in the oh, it is Tract, sorry about that, it's there, sorry. So the motion is the Town of Torbay award the request proposals for the Torbay Economic Strategic Roadmap Initiative to Tract Consulting, Inc. in the amount of $40,000 plus HST. So moved.
Second.
Over, seconder, questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
I was expecting more discussion on that. It's funny.
Sorry, but
Yes, I know, it's all right. The next part is the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, the RFP for the water system upgrades, which is on the go for a while, and we already accepted the funding from the ICIP program a while back. So now there's a motion now to actually award the consulting to go ahead. So the Town of Torbay award the consultant services for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program Water System Upgrades, project number 17 GI 20 00035 to Wood Environmental and Infrastructure Solutions in the amount of $138,729.18, HST included. So moved.
over.
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any comments or questions on that?
We got the approval to award from Municipal Affairs as well in hand, so I think everyone will be excited to get that project up and running to get our,
Just the water meters?
Water,
Just
yep.
the water meters?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Just a
Quick question,
I've
go
got a
ahead.
quick question. So, sorry, I
Go ahead.
can't I'm muted out there for a second. So, just want to confirm where this came in over or under budget.
We already awarded this before, didn't we? This is the consulting piece.
This is the
This-
lowest, I mean, it's a two-envelope process,
Okay.
technical requirements with a minimum score, and then you review the financial envelope.
Okay. Well, I guess the Council Clamp wants to know, was this over or under the estimate? Or was there an estimate?
It was an RFP
Oh,
based on
okay.
scope of work, so the financial side was reviewed by the Department of Municipal Affairs and Environment, and they made the recommendation on the award
Okay.
to council.
Did you hear that, Councillor Glenn?
They are,
I
I
did not
can
know.
confirm, they are the lowest of the bids that
So-
were received.
All right, so it was an RFP process that the town worked on together with Municipal Affairs and Environment. And how many bids did we have? Do we know? We had about 6 bids, and this was the lowest of the 6.
Right, but we obviously had an estimate in mind of what this would be, right?
No, it was an
It was
based on-
above.
It was based on scope of work, so that's how that would have been.
Municipal Affairs has guidance documentation on what fees should be, so we can go back and ask for the clarification. The total project budget is 1.06 million, including...
$1.1 million, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Council Land, I'll try to get that for you. I know where you're going with it. I know the project was approved overall under the ICIP program, which the consulting is a portion of it, and we probably won't know where the full budget falls out in terms of what they may look like. I know it was put together by consultants to put an estimate into the province, And in that figure somewhere, there is an amount that we would have thought about for consulting service. I don't have that right off the top of my head. All I know is that it went through the RP process, and this is one, I guess, about 11%, I guess, of what the project will be overall.
Right. Okay.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, opposed? None? Carried.
Okay, sorry, I'm taking up more than my fair share of time here, I suppose, this time around. At this, I think we promised a while back, and there's been some questions from the residents, I guess, in terms of how we're doing financially over the year, and we've taken some time and put together a brief report, and you'll see there it's the Q2 update executive summary. There's still a few unknowns because it was as of the June 30th, and there's still, obviously June 30th was the tax deadline, and there are still some collections and some analysis ongoing. But, a snapshot, I guess, of where we stood overall was essentially our revenues would be up about $47,000 for a number of reasons, or for one reason mainly, I guess, and that is because we got an additional $300,000 under gas tax. The flip side of that is there's going to be $300,000 more spent down below because the gas tax isn't in and out and flow through money. We were off on our taxation revenue by a little bit, $13,000. That's essentially break even. Levies, permits, fines, fees and fines, I guess, is indicative of the COVID situation where there was probably less activity in town. That's down by about $17,561 here. Recreation revenue obviously is down from compared to budget in terms of $170,934, mainly related to programming that we would normally expect to see during a regular non-COVID year. Regional services, again, is indicative of not being operational from maybe some things from the fire department and for animal control and things of that nature, which are cost shared or billed out to usage from other towns who are participating with us. And investment in miscellaneous income, there's some obviously reduction in what we might have billed in there for interest, which obviously we had a deadline in March for tax payment. We got a deadline in June. We're going to lose some things there. There is much lower interest rate on a lot of our operating funds now. I know when back at the beginning of the year there was the bank was somewhere around 2%, and I think probably down around 0.25% now in terms of what the return on any investments may be at this point in time. Operating expenses are going to be down as well. We didn't spend certain money, so that's going to save us about $80,000. On the council side of things, we're going to be down about $27,000. That relates mainly to professional development and travel and meetings and things of that nature. Public Works is above budget. I think that relates to mainly the additional operating expenses we had around the state of emergency, which everyone might not remember now, given the fact that COVID has overlapped all that. And what's not built into these figures, while I'm on that note, is we have not built anything back here to build in the expected money we may get back on that either. So that will be essentially a bonus to this. Planning and development is down mainly because we hadn't had the director in place for a period of time. Recreation and community service down by $529,000. Once again, program related and staff related from the community center operations and how that shut down for a period of time. Protective services, once again, that is a function of not being operating due to COVID and that cost you between private towns, $15,000. And our annual priorities are up $433,588. That is mainly what I mentioned earlier about the flip side, the gas tax, the $300,000, and there's $186,000 in there, my memory serves me right, for damage to the outfall or projected cost that we have to do some work on the outfall out there as well. So, like I said, the money is in there as an expense side of things, but there's nothing in there to recognize potential money coming back from the feds for the state of emergency funding. So, from a quick snapshot, looks like compared to budget, our forecast, we should be somewhere in the area of $283,000, and use that loosely. I'd be happy with if we stayed on budget and break even or a little better. So, but $283,000 is where we are at the present time. Looks like we're going to be to the good from cash-wise, not necessarily did good from benefit to the community-wise, because obviously we had to drop a lot of services and things of that nature. On the cash projection, which Councillor Gallant alluded to earlier, the cash balance that used there, Councillor Gallant, was $2.5 million in operating funds. There's another $2.5 million approximately in funds that we have invested. So while we show that we'll be down some $1 million on the operating fund by the end of the year, we would have been there anyway. So with nothing to do with COVID or anything else, just the way that the cash was actually reported. So we'll probably be $1 million to the good, or $1 million in the bank at the end of the year. And we have to make the conscious decision around what we want to do with those bank balances that we have, and earmark some of those funds. I think the challenge is where we're going to be in 2021, and what resident capability to pay taxes there. We don't know, and I don't mean that from any indication to increase. I'm just saying from people's ability to pay. We don't know what the fallout from COVID is, and we probably won't know that until later on in the year, actually, once all the funding arrangements are served, and the extension of that to the end of December, what impact that may have on residents. So overall, I think right now we're in as good a shape as can reasonably be expected. I don't see any huge red flags other than the fact that we are eating into our cash reserves, but we were going to do that anyway. So it's just a matter of us taking that longer term view come budget time again, and see where we fall out at the end of the day. The rest is just a comparison of collections of the levy and taxes to date versus this time last year. And then of course is the actual expense report and revenue report that is there to the end of June, is attached for everybody's viewing as well. So if anybody has any questions, reach out and we'll certainly find some answers for you. And Your Worship, I think that ends my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There's lots of stuff there for residents to chew on. That's going to be posted on the website. Where are we to? Economic development and tourism. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had a committee meeting on July the 16th from 6:30 to 7:30. Myself and Councillor Martin met with our Economic and Development and Tourism Officer, Deanne Lawrence. The items that we discussed the RFP for the Economic Strategic Roadmap that we've just passed, and I didn't speak to it at the time of the motion, just simply because there's the information is provided here in the package. The RFP information is there, scope is there. There were questions from a resident about why we're doing this and if it fits within the strategic plan, and staff provided a response and information for all that, which is available to residents. So I always welcome questions about anything like this that we're doing, but there are also two items in here where we've had proposals, and really the whole point of this is to have that roadmap married up in a way that we can, as a council, plan and work with the business community to have a comprehensive way about how we're going to move forward with our economic development planning and strategy. And then where does that fit within the planning department and, our zoning and regulations and all those things. So I really look forward to this project. I think it's going to be amazing. There's going to be community consultation and engagement, and it's going to allow for people who are interested to do business within our town to also have an opportunity for engagement. So we're quite pleased, and the expectation and the timeline is to turn this around, to have the information before us before we have our next set of budget discussions to look at where to from here. So this is a good stride in the right direction for the town of Torbay, absolutely. Item B, just to the point that there were a couple of proposals that we received. And again, it's a little early for us to decide what we're going to do with those, just because we have to get things organized and know what we want to see with our town center. And council has to have a vision of what's going to happen with different parts of economic development in the community. So great ideas, really excited to receive, proposals and concepts from residents, and looking forward to to those guys being part of the process of putting together what will things look like with us. Item C, the Torbay Business Support. The information is shared in the package again. And the 5th edition of the Torbay Business Bulletin focused on the food establishments. The Business Arising updates, we had a look at those. There was one piece there where the question was asked about clarity for the beach committee, and we asked that we talked about how the mayor sets the committees and how they're structured and what they do. So we wanted to make sure that this went back and went to you, Mayor, to have a talk about review. The discussion in 2018 was with a different committee that was struck, and this now is a new committee separate. So we just wanted to get some clarification from you about the committee structure and how you saw that rolling out in your purview on that. So we'll look forward to an update from you on that one. Staff will reach out and speak with you about it, and you can let us know what you're thinking. The tourism items we deferred to our next meeting. And under culture and heritage, the History House public engagement piece, we had a discussion. We did identify potential dates, 2 via Zoom, and 1 we talked about possibly thinking about an outdoor session. We did talk about the logistics of that, how to make it COVID safe, those sorts of things. So staff is going to go away, look at that, and maybe and come back to us with some considerations for maybe having an outdoor session as well up at the History House. But that's actively being worked on, and one of the things that we want to do is make sure that for the residents who did write the letter and send it into council requesting an opportunity to meet and discuss, that we did check with them to make sure that those dates would work for them. So the ones that we're looking at are in mid-August, and hopefully staff can get that tightened up and we can get those dates out soon. And the War Memorial, the staff will be submitting a grant to Veterans Canada regarding improvements for the War Memorial on the grounds. Donation guidelines was something that we talked about in previous meetings, and that was a question of, people have different items that they would love to donate to the History House, but we can't have 10 of the same things. So how do we go about doing that, and what parameters? So we've deferred that to have that conversation in the next committee meeting. We adjourned at 7:44 p.m., and I'm very happy to entertain any questions if anybody has any.
I got a question and a comment. So with regards to the Heritage Committee and the Beach Committees, prior they used to be subcommittees of economic development, right? Don, that's how they were?
Yes.
So I would envision them being the same, similar to how the Environment Committee is a subcommittee of planning, whereas the Planning Committee creates the terms of reference and I guess in consultation with the members of the committee, and then we can move forward like that. We can get that back on track, I guess. To the other point, I just got a quick question about the War Memorial. So did we consult with the Legion? I know that the Legion, Michael Preddy, he works with he's with the Legion, obviously, and he told me that sometimes the Legion funds these type of projects, and Pleasantville Legion, I believe, is our branch. That is
and to that point, Mayor, I did ask that Deanne follow up with the Legion, and that one in specific, and explain to her that was the one that works with us in our community, and she is going to do that. So we had that was part of our discussion.
Okay, perfect.
And she is following up with the Legion to consult on anything to do with moving forward on this.
All right, thank you.
So that was part of the discussion. And just back to the committee structure,
Yeah.
The practice that I've always understood was that, you decide which committees and who sits where, and then we follow, the direction and serve at the pleasure of the mayor when it comes to the committees. So what we talked about here was there was a question about would a member of council be a representative on the beach committee? And to that point, before we talked about how we as council members could serve or would serve on a beach committee. We asked for Deanne to go back and clarify how often they meet, what would they look for that member of council to do to get further clarification, and then bring that back to you within the committee structure for guidance. So that was the thinking around that, but I know she'll follow up on it. We will have that conversation with you, and once we understand better the parameters of that, then we'll certainly bring it back to committee for a recommendation to council one way or the other.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll talk to CAO about that tomorrow or the next day,
Okay.
and about how we go about that. But I think that subcommittees, the terms of reference go through, and like you said, with staff and everything, and we'll get it all figured out.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
Anybody? Councillor Torgas?
I've just got a question here with regards to the History House public engagement.
Yep.
I mean, we started work.
Yeah, this is about the governance piece with the board and all that.
So that probably should be.
Am I right about that, Deputy Mayor?
It's about what it's about. It's about residents who are interested in the operations and governance of the History House and how it's going to work. So to Councillor Thorngoss's point, she's absolutely right. We are moving forward with the layout of the building and the infrastructure of it. This provides an opportunity to meet with residents and allow them to have a voice with us, to, you know, the ones who are really excited to be a part of, you know, ensuring that heritage stays in the forefront in the community, that this facility is used optimally, is to open that conversation, have an opportunity for residents to share with us what their vision is for the History House and what they want to see, and just to have that ability to listen and engage with the public, and we don't want to have a beautiful facility there that they're not using. So the whole purpose of these meetings really is they reached out to us and sent a letter. They asked for a meeting to have a conversation, and we knew we had residents, you know, in other capacities outside of this one group that wanted to have conversations. I've had several calls myself. So what we decided to do was open the opportunity to have 2 sessions. One was going to be a weekend, one was going to be an evening, and then the potential for a third in person. But like I said, the in-person one, we have to get the logistics of that figured out and make sure it's safe. And we do like the idea of it. It's just a matter of sorting that out. But it's really given that engagement discussion as we're working, you know, in parallel with you to get the building ready. We want to make sure that we've got the structure and the governance and the operations working in a way that's meaningful for residents and the community. So that's what these meetings are about. And they will be set up and communicated out to the public. But we felt it was important to ensure that the residents who have asked to meet about this, that we set the time in a way that, you know, they are able to participate. So that's what that's about.
Okay. Yes.
Probably should indicate though that for governance.
Yeah. It's about operations and governance. Yeah.
There is already a consultant's report that we do have to consider governance, and we have done work looking at the governance piece to see what are best practices, what are there, what's happening in other similar facilities in neighboring communities. So we are working on all of those pieces, but at different levels, and we wanted to make sure that, you know, the public engagement piece was not missed and that we had the opportunity to listen. So it all wraps into a bigger picture. But I think, Councillor Thorngoss, what we'll do at the meeting as we discussed at committee was provide an overview of, you know, what's happening with the building and the structure, and have a presentation there. And then we could provide a presentation of here's what we've done so far and here's where we are. And then ask the question of the public, what do you think? What do you envision? What do you see? And collect that information. And once we have that, then we'll bring it back to council for further discussion about how we're going to operate the facility.
That's fine. I think Councillor Thorngoss's point was it just should have said operations and governance just in the notes. That's all for clarification. Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Thorngoss? Yeah, Councillor Glenn.
Yes, I've got a quick question. Well, maybe not a total quick question. Obviously, one of the mandates of the committee is tourism,
And of course, with COVID and the world being turned upside down, more and more people are talking about staycations. And, we had a big talk about, people staying in the community. And, it's actually the outdoors matters more so than ever than necessarily going and traveling to Disney and all that kind of stuff, right? And one of the things that I was wondering, Deputy Mayor, have you been in contact? Have you been, working with the other committees with regards to trails in the progressing trails in the community? So I did notice that we have a $100,000 budget for trails, and we still have a very large amount of money, $90,000, I guess, unallocated towards that. And I just want to make sure we avoided a point where we got to happened last year or whatever year that was, where we basically had the money and then we just didn't do anything with it.
Just hang on.
Are there plans for getting trails on the go this year?
Can I just jump in there for a second? Trails is public works, so that's outside of the deputy mayor's purview.
Yeah, no, that was one because I know she has the tourism.
Well, you got recreation. Has recreation been in contact with public works?
I was asking if the tourism people have been talking to the public works people with regards to what's next for trails. I know there was a couple of different things talked about floating around for trails and getting people in the community and potential benefits for tourism. And I was wondering if there's been any movement on that at all.
I just
speak to that.
I just think that the question is out of line. That it should be directed to public works. That's who does trails, and our staff, our recreation staff, and our tourism staff, and our economic development staff, and our public works staff and planning staff all have meetings every week and talk about the plans for doing this and doing that. So I'm sure they're doing it. I don't think that we need to belabor the point. Yes, we all know trails are important, but I mean, there's no point in just having a conversation now about that for nothing.
Could I speak to the point, please?
It's an easy question. Just understand.
All right, bye. Go ahead.
Thank you. Councillor Glant, as the mayor said, my understanding has always been that trail development falls under public works. So no, our committee has not met to have a discussion about the trails. I do know that the Department of Recreation has done some amazing work with our communication staff to share messaging throughout COVID in particular about getting out and enjoying the trails and being safe about that. So I would absolutely encourage any opportunity to work with our communication staff to continue to share through our town channels opportunities to, come to Torbay and take pictures on the trails and promote them as a tourism destination. Absolutely. And I've got to be honest with you, I think that it's something that's very important, but my understanding as well is that we do have a plan for trail development, and I believe I've seen the map of where the trails are, and my understanding has been that, there's a plan in place. And in fact, I was approached by somebody who was connected with Juniper Ridge not that long ago, and they were asking about, I believe it was Watts Pond behind the school, and if there would be any potential for trail development there, because, other schools are using these trails and ponds for biodiversity and for educating the youth and for recreation and those sorts of things. So I thought that was a great idea. But again, it would come back to having a conversation with Public Works about would this concept fit within the plan? What is the next priority? So I think maybe, the mayor has made the point that Public Works takes the lead on this. Maybe we could ask them to have a look at it and add it to their agenda. But I'm absolutely open any and every time to find a way to promote our trails or anything to do with tourism in our community. And I welcome your thoughts, and I'm welcome to anybody's thoughts around how we can find ways to promote our beautiful community. So that would be my thoughts on it.
Thank you. We're going to move on now from that.
I don't know if you had any thoughts. I'll ask for the official status update on the new trail development from Public Works next meeting.
All right. Thank you. And moving on. Where are we? Infrastructure, Public Works. How about that? Councilor Dorngas.
Ball fields, I'm just going to go down over this 2019 The director and CAO are currently reviewing the process and next steps required. That's something that we need, I guess, with regard to the next steps that we need to put, I guess, for our next meeting, we'll have some more information to bring forward. Playground equipment, damaged structure at Motion Drive has been removed. We have a meeting there on site tomorrow with Public Works and Recreation. Outfall repair project, the director will be meeting with the municipal affairs officials to see what portion of the work the town can do on its own. Infrastructure location project, no update currently. Stormwater management plan, directors reviewing will have an update for the next meeting. Wastewater testing requirements, directors reviewing will have an update for the next meeting. Water treatment North Pond, director is looking at having the cost to update water treatment plant refined. Water allocation numbers are being reviewed by the director and who's DDP? Planning and Development. Sounds good. Other items, speed calming, the permanent bumps have been put in place, and evaluations are taking place for the temporary bumps. Gas tax funding. Director informed committee that over the past few months himself and the supervisor of public works have been reviewing streets throughout the town, taking into consideration previous reviews and the current state of streets. Progressive Engineering was engaged to complete a survey on 7 streets that required work. They provided an update and estimate to complete the road work with the proper subgrade work and stormwater systems below is a list of those streets. So we had Burns Lane, Tantonview Lane, Dumfries Lane, Ready Drive, Quarry Road Extension intersection street upgrade, Robin Place, and Peters Place. We only have a limited amount of money in our gas tax allotment, and Country Drive project, which is coming under the gas tax agreement, was $309,173.45. So we're working with approximately $700,000 remaining for road work. We had a lot of discussion around this particular area, and we'd only be limited really to doing one road, bringing one road up to par to where it should be. And last year we had a list of streets that we went out and we told residents that would be done. And so this is what we're going to look at. It's Burns Lane, Peters Place, Paul's Place, Riverview Place, Robbins Pond Hill Road, Tantonview Lane, Martins Lane, Cantwell Place, Gallows Cove Road, McCormick Place, Bridge Road, Torquay Place, Ned's Place, Rusworthy Place, Hiscox Lane, Dumfries Lane. So we need to look at which ones in there that we could complete with the funding that we have set aside. Committee questioned why the estimates on the common streets were so different, and the director noted that the estimates PEC provided were to correct subgrade and drainage issues, while the estimate provided by the consultant last year was mainly for cut patch and some recapping. Director noted that if we were only to cut the patch recap, we were not going to get to the real issue, and likely within 5-6 years we'd be back redoing the same streets, and that was I guess where we ended up having difference of opinion. Most of the older streets in the town were never constructed properly, and there's large rocks and organic material in the subgrade, which is causing most of the issues. After some discussion, committee agreed that we should move forward as per last year's motion and do the cut and patch and recapping process, because instead of doing one road, at least we'd be out and doing several roads. Director noted that we will contact PEC to have them draft the tender documents and have the work completed in that manner. So we didn't need a motion for that? That's motion for last year, okay.
Yes, the capital investment plan is already approved it was motioned by council and approved by gas tax secretary. When the tender results come back in, then there'll be a motion of council to award.
Okay. Business advisory report, History House and Monument at the Beach. The beach project is completed. History House project is ongoing. Illegal dumping, use of cameras was discussed as surveillance, which could set up around the community. I guess after yesterday's incident, maybe we should have cameras set up around. CAO to confirm estimates for extending junior ball field and to include feasibility of regulation size field. Directors looking into the pricing. pedestrian calming request, Quarry Road, safety concerns and issuing issues regarding traffic coming through Pine Ridge subdivision, Karen Drive areas, including increased traffic due to the daycare in the area. Concerns pertaining to Widoff Road and pedestrian safety. It was requested that this be reviewed by committee to further discuss how to evaluate resident to forward email for referral to the committees. Directors evaluating the new request to facilitate installation of temporary bumps in the new areas. Ditching at Skipper's Landing has taken place in August 12, 2019. Details in residents' correspondence was not accurate. CAO to follow up with resident to clarify. Awaiting adoption of stormwater management plan before moving forward with operational requirements. Director is reviewing, will have an update for the next meeting. Stormwater management implementation plan, approval to accept the stormwater upgrades and priority list and implementation plan. Director is reviewing and will have an update for the next meeting. Resident noted that the intersection at Bullingstown Road is problematic area and traffic does not stop at the intersection. A stop bar and line painting is completed. Approval to accept preliminary concept package and architecture plans, History House project is continuing. Sidewalks engineering design is not completed in detail in terms of cost. There is much more detailed design files to be forwarded to the director and will be reconfirmed with committee. There is no duplication of work, and director will reconfirm process. The funding application has been approved, and the director and CAO are currently reviewing the process and next steps required. I'm just going to ask, do you have any idea when that might be done?
Yeah, sorry. There's a template that you had to follow from Municipal Affairs. So I've got that probably 85% complete. And myself and CEO's meeting later this week to try to finalize it. Then Municipal Affairs will review and they take the lead from there for the actual tendering of it. So hopefully over the next week or two, that should be out.
Perfect.
Hopefully.
Exciting. We good to have that done before fall starts, well, before they go to head back to school.
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
I got a question. I guess around the roadwork piece. So, did we just take this year's allotment of the gas tax, or did we take all, how many years do we get at a time? 4 years? 3? Like the,
Semi-annual installments.
no, I understand that. What I'm saying, this current gas tax agreement is 2021 to 2020. What?
2020 to 2024.
Right.
Yep.
And the whole amount is how much? 3-point-something million?
2 point something,
Yeah.
Or 2 point,
2 point something.
2.6? Because I was just thinking, like, the last time when we did that, we borrowed against it. We did all the work, and we did a lot more work. Like, that's how we got Mans Lane done with sidewalks and Morris Avenue and a few other big, long stretches of road. I don't know if we're getting the best bang for our buck by just doing a bunch of patching and fixing in different areas, because I know that there's mobilization costs every time that they got to come do it. So I just hope that our money don't get eaten up into mobilization and engineering and actually getting pavement on the ground for big pieces that's really necessary. Anyway, I trust you guys all looked at all that. But do we ever consider borrowing against the whole lot like we did last time to get a bigger bang for the buck?
Just to clarify, Mayor, we didn't borrow. We had surplus funds in main operating account, so it was like an internal loan, but it was motioned of council. So when the installments over the 4-year period were issued, they remained in main operating account. Prior agreements, we did projects based on the annual allocation.
Okay, all right. That's kind of what I meant. I guess we borrowed from ourselves, right, to get the whole amount up.
Those estimates that reflected as well too, that were compiled last year, do reflect the engineering costs built into those as well too.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right. I was just worried there was going to be additional costs on top of that. So, anyway.
Total is 2.1 million.
That's all, that's the only question I had.
It's still going to be an estimate until it goes to tender,
Right.
right? And the culvert project is also being done, right? Because, I mean, we didn't commit all the gas tax money because of the
Right.
other priorities we have too. The stormwater management plan may take some of it. We spoke to that. I know we put off the infrastructure project because we said we were going to look at that under gas tax rather than finance it. So there's $300,000 gone for the culvert already. This is going to be another $1 million. It's 1.3. That'll leave us with approximately 700. It's not 2.7. I think it's $2.1 million or somewhere around $2 million for gas tax allotment, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Okay, all right. No, that's fine. No, I was just curious, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Just to that point, I just want to be clear. So what we're looking to do then is just the patching. We're not looking at the other piece that was recommended by PEC. Is that what you're saying?
We had, last year, we had recommendations from PEC, so what to go and do some recapping, cut and patch, so which we will be touching on a number of roads. This year, I guess, staff looked at going out and changing the way that, what the view was, what the plan was originally, and looked at doing something different. But we already had this discussion, and we talked about it last year, the roads that we were going to do. And we took the funding that was there for some of the roads and we put it into doing roads to make sure that one road in particular, maybe it was Quigley's Lane, was it?
Yeah.
To making sure that that was brought up to standard. And with the understanding, we told residents that while their roads were listed to have some work done on it, it wouldn't take place last year, but it would take place this year. So what we have now is, I guess, probably something contradictory to what the plan was and what we already had told residents what was going to take place, right there wrongly, but that's what happened.
So I guess my question here is, why would we have engaged PEC to have a look at another way of doing it if we already had committed last year? Because we would have paid for the work for the engineers to come in and do that. And the second part is, looking at some of these roads here that are being suggested by PEC, you're 100% right when you say, some of these roads were not built properly in the beginning. Some of these roads I know in the wintertime, especially, and we've got great snow clearing, but some of them in particular, I see cars on them set every year because the roads aren't wide enough and they've gone off the side and end up with a tire in the ditch and have to get towed out of it. So I feel that I'd like to ask committee I understand we're trying to stretch our dollar to get the maximum benefit with the recommendation that you're making, absolutely. And Councillor Pollard is right. There's a lot of competing items on the table when it comes to the ask for gas tax money. But I really feel that the recommendations that we have from PEC here now for those streets, we would really need to go back and have a look at how we make this happen, because there are safety issues. There are small children on some of these roads, and I feel it's really important for us to make sure that we have a plan go forward to address those issues. So if you guys could take that back to committee and have a look at, where to from here with that would be great. I also have a concern. I know that you're doing due process with sidewalks, and I'm very big on process. But I'm also very big on making sure that the sidewalk money is spent this year and those sidewalks get put in, because we don't want to have a situation where we didn't spend the money and we lose it. So I'd like to get a clear idea of timelines for the public about when they could expect to see sidewalks going in, because we really need to have clear communication about when this work is going to be done, when we expect the approval from Municipal Affairs, when we could get this work in place, and make sure that residents understand that. And the last point that I wanted to make was around the stormwater management plan. And it says here that we haven't adopted the plan, but I thought we have. I thought it was the implementation part of the plan that we have yet to adopt.
That's what we have.
Can you clarify that for me, please?
That's right.
That's right, you're right.
Yeah. So
We
the
don't
way
know
it's
where the
written here
priority-
is that we haven't adopted the plan. And I'd just like to note that we have adopted the plan. It's the implementation part of it that that we now have to adopt, because we want to make sure that if we're going to do, I believe it was upwards to $10 million to do the work, with an exorbitant amount of money. So we had to cut it into pieces, but to make sure that the engineering was done so that what work was done didn't impede or impact what was downstream, to make it a situation where it could be worse for other people. So I think for residents as well, it'd be nice to know, if we could, when to expect work on that this year, because these are budget items. And I know residents, especially the ones who have massive amount of waters next to their house, and they've got, insurance problems because they can't get their homes insured now, or it's very difficult for them to get insurance in Skipper's Landing because of some of this stuff. They'd be very anxious to know what we're doing and when. So I don't know if we can provide any sort of timeline when to expect this by, but it's really important to make sure those sidewalks and that stormwater management work gets put out this year.
Director of Public Works just gave an update on the sidewalks. He's working on the tender documents now, and it'll be ready to send into this. He's working on the sheet for Municipal Affairs right now this week, and it'll be submitted to Municipal Affairs, and they'll take the lead on the tender process. Is that what you said, Brian?
Yeah. So the first process for this is there's a consultant. You got a consultant has to be hired. So in this case, we can go to a request for consultants. So we just you identify up to five consultants, and they provide pricing for it. So that does speed it up somewhat over going for a total RFP. And like I say, we're taking direction from Municipal Affairs on that.
All right.
Absolutely, but my question is, this is, later now in July, so is that something that, we can expect to be turned around and still have the ability to get these sidewalks in before the fall and the winter comes?
That's the
Is that a realistic timeline? Because we need to get this money spent.
That's the plan. I mean, and I can tell you right now that Don gets almost a question from me a week or every couple of days about sidewalks, where we do. So the staff are pushing to try and get it done as quick as they can. Everything is slowed up now in Municipal Affairs, particularly when it comes to tendering and stuff. So this COVID certainly don't help matters, but I know that they're working hard and get that done. Nobody wants to see that stuff more than I do.
Just to reconfirm too, to Deputy Mayor's earlier point, there is more. This is a multi-year funding agreement as well too, so.
There's no worries about losing money.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did hear that.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that, if at all possible, we get this action this year, and I just wanted to get an update on tighter timelines. So
I agree.
Thank you, I appreciate
I
it.
agree, and there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heads here going up and down agreeing with you about this.
All right, thank you, Rich.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on the Public Works report?
I sure do.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, Jeff.
No, let Jeff go first.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff. Sorry, Councillor Glenn.
Yeah. No worries. I'll probably ask the question probably properly now to the Public Works. And again, kind of what Debbie just said, we want to make sure that we follow through on the commitment that we told the residents we'd follow through on, and our budgets and stuff like that. Can I get an update from the Public Works Committee as to the state of trail development for 2020?
Go ahead, hang on. Director will give you a quick update there.
Sure. So right now, trail maintenance is started, and we're waiting on a license to occupy it for the development of the next trail. The application was submitted. I guess I'd say this. The application was submitted in February of 2019, and we still haven't heard back from Municipal Affairs, Crown Lands on that. So CAO's been in contact with our MHA and the minister as well to see if we can get that moved along so we can get that money spent this year.
So you're saying it's been a year and a half since we heard back from the province?
That's correct.
Yeah, Lands Division.
Lands Division, yep.
Okay. Well, I guess I just want to work together to make sure that we get this stuff implemented so it doesn't fall through the cracks. So whatever I can do to help with the whatever the Recreation Committee can do to help the Public Works Committee or whatever like that, let's just try to work together and make that a priority to get that done. Well, maybe we could even make it get a standing item or something on your agenda. But it's something that I was fearful it was going to fall through the cracks, and it looks like it is falling through the cracks.
It's certainly not falling through cracks on my desk. It's, I'm working with it every day.
Could I just clarify?
It's not under the bus thing or anything. I'm just saying, hey, let's all just recognize that the wheel's not moving and do what we can.
COA has a comment, Jeff.
Just to Councillor Gallant's point, we're following proper process with getting the license to occupy in place before we proceed with trail development. We've engaged the MHA to follow up on our behalf, and I can tell you by the number of emails I've received from the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works that he's doing due diligence on that. If we followed process prior, we probably wouldn't have had the delays that we did. So it's noted, the budget will be spent, we'll be creating the linkages within Western Island Pond or Forest Landing subdivision, and Director will have some additional recommendations on that. Nothing's fallen through the cracks.
Okay, thank you. All right.
No.
Tony?
Thank you, Your Worship.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just want clarity or provide some clarity around that road redo, because I guess it was approved by council last year to resurface certain roads, and it was capital investment plan was put into the gas tax secretariat. It's been approved. Now we're just in a situation where we're going to go back now and tender what we had motion last year to do. The fact that PEC was involved and we have some redesign roads for engineering construction puts us in a bit of a bind, because if everyone remembers, when the road assessments were done, and as road assessments are done, you're looking at two different things. You're looking at one is a total rehaul and rehab of all of the roads itself, in which case, if we do that, the dollars don't go very far. So that's one conscious decision, and a longer term plan as to what the list of priorities are. And we had that when the road assessment report was done by previous director through whoever it was at the time, and all the roads were on the list, and they essentially had the same priority for a reconstruction type scenario. We're faced with, there's an awful lot of roads that also need the recap and to be made drivable. If we spend our gas tax money on total road reconstruction, it's going to go nowhere. I would think that we would want to do road construction in maybe a combination of, we might look at a couple of roads and have them redone if the gas tax money does and allows with no other competing priorities, or put it under a multi-year capital works priority. But there are a lot of roads that need resurfacing, and they're the ones that were identified. I'm not one for sitting down and disagreeing with these roads need to be reconstructed, but if we reconstruct the road, the other roads will only even be drivable in the next number of years. So these have to be done on a recap to get another 5 to 6, 7 years out of them maybe before we get into the same situation we're in now. Whereas if we just do one road, we'll have one road done perfectly with maybe small amounts of traffic, because none of these roads are really huge roads. And then we'll have numerous residents who have already promised road upgrades in a situation where we're going to be back to almost gravel roads in some places. So I would suggest we leave it as is. If we identify a higher priority roads outside of the money we already approved, or even if it means once we go to tender and find out what the dollar value are, maybe we can rearrange and add something to a priority road like a Burns Lane or something to take another couple of $100,000 of gas tax money to do. But I certainly don't want to go back and reinvent the wheel on the road recapping program, because they're two different programs. It's road reconstruction and refurbishment, and there's road recapping. This is road recapping.
Okay, great, thank you. I agree with you. All those roads on that list need to be done. And I think that from a council perspective, when we sit down and talk about budget, if we want to take on more roads and more stormwater management and more of this, more of that, put in our budget, you know, and see where it goes. And then we'll have those extra resources in there to do that. I know that this year we put $200,000 in the budget for kind of patchwork type road work, you know. So really $200,000 doesn't go anywhere when you're dealing with pavement and road. So thank you very much. Recreation, Community Services, Councillor Glant. Councillor Glant?
Hey. Yeah, I'm here now. Okay, so we couldn't actually get a quorum on our meeting this week, so The director has provided me with an update, and I did speak with her briefly via the telephone just to touch base. So she provided this update. So for summer camp 2020, looks like our plans are working out pretty smoothly so far. Camp weeks 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 are full. Camp week 4, there's 13 spaces remaining for this week. So the screening questions have been adjusted to incorporate the Atlantic bubble. So all's good so far with that. That's great. And with regards to Silver Spades, as of noon, July 13th, there are 6 nominations. Okay, so we're getting closer to the deadline, so we're hoping that the numbers will increase for that. We do actually have a COVID-inspired Mario Kart tournament. So lots of kids and adults been playing a lot more video games lately. So we're having a special event for that on. Actually, it's been changed. I don't have the new. It's not July 26th now. I think it got moved. CEO, do you have the updated date there?
I have 2 updates actually, Councillor Gallant. We now have 12 nominations for Silver Spades as of 4 o'clock today, and the new date for Mario Kart is August 2nd.
It's the 2nd, that's right. That's absolutely right. Okay. Cool, so that should be fun. I wouldn't mind throwing my own hat in there maybe. Torbay's birthday coming up on August 4th. This is going to be a virtual event, and there's 4 different 30-minute musical performances by Peter and Miranda McDonald, David Lammead, Kitchen Party, and the Holding Ground. So there's going to be coloring sheets printed off, and so hopefully that'll be a really good event as well. We've got outdoor yoga in August, location to be confirmed, and probably the most things on top of most people's minds are basically the return to play, and basically with regards to soccer return to play. CEO and Director of Recreation and Community Services have reviewed the return to play request for soccer, and a formal agreement has been sent to the Northeast United Soccer Association for their review and signature. With regards to softball, staff is reviewing this request, and the Torbay Common Rental Agreement form. Basically, this will come forth at the August council meeting. We were actually trying to put together an outdoor movie as well, and this has gone forward for a license to provide 2 outdoor movies in August. So we're hoping to have a little drive-in thing actually. But what this is going to happen here for these outdoor movies is going to be these are going to be held within the green space of the town, and there's going to be limited capacity obviously, and we're going to have some pre-registration there as well. And then Business Horizon Port has been updated for discussions for the next committee meeting. So, all right. Any questions or concerns regarding that?
What's Mario Kart?
It's a Wii game, video game. I'm all up on
It's
that.
it's like the basic, probably the most popular racing game.
Oh yeah,
It's actually kind of cute. Yeah.
Mario Kart. I'm all over it.
Mario Kart, yep.
I'm gonna sign myself up.
Donkey Kong, baby. Yep.
All right, thank you. All right,
thank you, guys.
moving on, liaison committees. First one, Atlantic Mayor's Congress. I got an email the other day. They're looking at potentially having a meeting in September in Summerside, PEI. I will not be attending. I'm not going to travel outside the province while the COVID is on the go. I don't think that, I don't know how many of my counterparts from here will be going, but I've been talking to a few of them and none of them are going as far as I know. So that's that. It's too bad, but I'm going to actually go back to them because I am on the board of directors of that and ask if there's a way that we can attend virtually. I don't know. I'm hoping they'll be able to set something up and then we'll be able to attend. We'll figure out something. Maybe I'll be able to attend from here in the council chamber if I can figure out how to.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have to drop off right now.
Okay.
I'm going to have to drop off the call.
All
okay.
right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. And did you, okay. So that's that. Intergovernmental affairs, provincial. Through my role with M&L, I guess I'll cover off their municipalities committee now too while I'm at this. We've had numerous meetings over the last couple of months with Minister Haggie, Mr. Bragg. We had the president of FCM join us on our UMC meeting last month to talk about COVID-19, how it's impacting municipalities, how we expressed our concerns that in the first phases of reopening that we didn't feel that we had enough input into what was happening. And I think that for clarification for residents, the general public, they feel, at least from the inquiries and questions and comments that I've received, that towns and cities and other municipalities throughout the province are basically working hand in glove with the government on these reopening plans, and that's simply not the case. We try and provide through M&L some information that's important to municipalities, and we did that in our meetings with Mr. Hagee. We stressed the importance that it would be nice if we had some input into it. Our input is very limited, and we find out what the new rules are when the public finds them out for the most part. We don't get it a week in advance or 2 weeks in advance to be able to start working on it. That is part of the reason why it seems that it takes a long time to get things done. But we have to always remember that we're dealing with people's health here and safety, and that has to be at the forefront. So once we start to get this information from the government, and then we develop our guidelines based on the information that we're getting from the chief medical officer, that's why it takes a little bit of time. And I know that I had questions from the softball people and soccer people and whoever else, the playground, the people that want to use the playgrounds and the skate park. And you know, there's very strict guidelines that we have to follow, and we're going to do it for everybody's safety. And I know our staff are working hard to try and make sure that things are clean and that we're operating within the rules that we're supposed to. So I just wanted to give people just a brief window, I guess, into what we're dealing with all the time, is that we don't get the information way ahead of time. We're working as hard as we can and as fast as we can and as safe as we can to get these things done. You know, we've been meeting, this is our first meeting as a council back in our council chamber. Our staff is only back to work full time. All the staff, I guess, for about a week and a little bit, maybe a week and a day, you know, back here and up at the depot. And you know, it's a strange and weird time we're living in, but you know, everybody has to have some patience and a bit of I don't know, empathy, I guess, for those around them trying to deal with this, and that would include members of council, empathy for our residents, and our residents a little bit of empathy for us sometimes. It's goes a long way. But with that, the next one on the list is Jack Byrne Regional Sports Entertainment Center. Councillor Pollard or Deputy Mayor?
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just running through the items in the package here. The letter that was sent for the meeting, the joint meeting of the owners, we were unable to get participation from every community at that meeting that we had hoped to have on July the 9th. So we are going to reschedule. I think it's really important to stress the importance of the four towns as owners working together to make decisions for the facility, and to note that the management board of the facility don't have the capacity to do those sorts of things. So we will have to reconvene and try to set a next date to have the four owner towns come together and meet to talk about making decisions for the facility, including the management and lease agreement. The next point there for the COVID loan, that application has been filed and is done from the Jack Byrne perspective. The chair's report is here from the past chair. The AGM manager's report is here. The financials are here. I'm happy to do my best to answer questions for anyone that has questions here, or take it back to staff to get further clarification. If anybody wants to ask, by all means.
No, I don't see no hands up.
No? Okay. Is there anything else on the agenda? Because I'm in the package here and I don't have the agenda up.
No, there's nothing else there.
We're good? Okay, so the plan, we did have a internal update that was provided to members of the board by staff last week. So I will circulate that to council, and I will ask for an update for the next round of packages that go out. And we have our next Jack Byrne meeting the last Thursday of every month. So we'll have an update for the next council package for what's coming out of that. In the meantime, if anyone has questions or wants to touch base with anything to do with Jack Byrne, by all means, give me a call or reach out to Councillor Pollard, and we'll do our best to get you answers or take it back to the management board. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Doherty Sutherland Joint Council. Councillor Goss, no update? Perfect, that's what I love. Roland Flank Assembly. I had a phone call with Chief Boland about, I hazard to guess, probably a week and a half ago, 2 weeks maybe. And I expressed to him about all the complaints that we've been getting here at the town about, in particular, ATVs buzzing around up and down the roads. And I wanted to get an update from him on our MOU and the status of that project as it was moving forward. And at that point, he told me they had 9 new vehicles on the road at that point. They have 7 more ordered, and he was going to get back to me about how this, I guess, ties into our project that we were looking at with the new traffic patrol. And I'll probably follow up with him later on the week and see if I can get him back on the line and get a little update. He's pretty busy right now, so as I guess with everybody's, and I'll certainly put that on my list of things to do. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department.
Thank you. As a brief report, our last meeting was on July 6th. There were 6 medical calls, 1 request for assistance, 1 garbage fire, 3 alarm bell calls. 1 wasn't in our area. There is a meeting taking place now. However, I obviously can't attend because I'm at our public meeting. Other than that, recurring messages, be cognizant of outdoor burning. Particularly dry this time of year, even though we're fortunate enough to have a few days of rain. But, only use regulated fire pits and whatnot. Don't do any barrel burning or loose burning or anything like that. Just forest fires. And other than that, so it's my report.
All right, thank you. The UMC committee, I gave my update, I guess, when I talked about the intergovernmental stuff. So that's that. Notice of motion. We have none. New business. Let us start with those on the phone. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of thank yous. The first one actually is going to the RNC. Similar to your comments a few minutes ago about concerns that we've had in the community and their response. I know I have had concerns myself. Oh my goodness, I can't speak tonight. I've had concerns myself with the ATV complaints that we've received from residents, safety around that, and also speeding within the community. And I've actually called the RNC and asked them to increase patrols in certain areas on behalf of residents, and they have done that, and I have noticed an increased presence of the RNC in our community. So I just wanted to send out a thank you to them for responding and to and for me it's been a notably greater presence in the community the last little while. So I just wanted to mention that. And the second thing is to thank you to your point around COVID and volunteers trying to navigate the COVID parameters this year. And like yourself, I've had several conversations, with residents, and they're concerned about, well, how come this is not open and that is not open, or we're trying to do something, but we're really struggling with how to do it this year. And I think it's important that we recognize that this is new, uncharted territory for not only us as a town and our staff, but also for those volunteers who are willing to give of their time to try to do the best they can for the community. So I just wanted to say thank you to our staff, of course, for the work they do, but also to the volunteers who are trying to navigate COVID. As we find out, like you said, when the public finds out what's happening, we gotta respond. But we do that as a town, but I know the volunteers in the community are also trying to do the same thing. And I've seen a lot of volunteers step up, so I just wanted to say thank you to them. Thank you for the patience and the tenacity to try to continue to offer safe programming to our residents. So that's it for me, and thank you. I guess I should probably thank you as well for accommodating us on the phone tonight. I know there's still a work in progress, but this seems to have gone quite well. So I'd like to thank you for that as well. And that's it for me.
Listen, we accommodate anybody best we can. That's our job. Thank you. Where am I to? Pass. Back to me. All right. So, listen, I just want to say, well, first of all, usually this is my mayor's report, but happy birthday to Mark Reddy. He's our July birthday. I don't know if anybody else is here that has any, so we'll wait until August. If you got a July birthday, tell me about it, and I'll wish you happy birthday in August. I just want to say thank you to the staff here at the town, and it includes everybody right up to the depot here, at the town hall, and council. The last few months, and I think it's particularly evident here tonight, that the fact that we're back in our council chamber, looking at each other face to face, having a meeting, there's something to be said for that. Zoom has its uses, but I'm zoomed out. I can tell you that right now. I've had so many Zoom meetings since March. It's crazy. If anybody knew, they'd think I was nuts. But I just want to say thank you to everybody for rearranging this council chamber so we can do our meeting in person safely. Our staff are here. They're sat in the back doing their jobs, and they're here present. And, there's so many people that have been trying to adjust their jobs, how they do their job, and our residents have been struggling with simple things, as simple as going to the grocery store or going to the store. People are worried, and they, it's to a certain amount, you have to always be a little bit worried, is what keeps you on your toes. So I just want to say thank you to council, staff, and residents for all the work that you've been putting in. And, I know it's not easy. Some people are finding themselves on difficult times right now, and we just got to stick together, and brighter days are ahead, hopefully, and we'll get all this stuff done and our heads wrapped around it. With that said, I won't say any more. Don, did we have any questions came in during the meeting?
We did. There was one. I did forward it to you by email, or I can read it out. It's your choice, Mayor.
And I'll have a look.
It's regarding ATV use.
Okay. So we have a question from, trying to find it. Question from Madeline Florent, frequent questioner. It's a comment for the Q&A if there's time. So I'm going to read it as she wrote it. This afternoon, I witnessed a youth on a dirt bike speed down Lower Street and fly down to the beach, over the bridge and up the Father Troy Trail on the south side. Yesterday on the Father Troy Trail, I was passed by a young man on an ATV and an older gentleman on a mountain bike. 2 weeks ago, we were at Amherst Monument when a young child passed on the trail. Every day, there are ATVs, dirt bikes, and speed bikes speeding up and down Enemy Line. A few weeks ago, I arrived at the intersection of Enemy Line and the Bypass Road and witnessed 10 ATVs, yes 10, waiting for the green light and then proceed speeding up the bypass. They are driving up and down Torbay Road, provincial roads, town roads, and on our trails, not to mention the damage that these vehicles are doing to our environment. These are only a few examples. Complaints about ATVs and dirt bikes are numerous and ongoing. This has been ongoing for years. There are regular complaints to the town and council members. Lately, there have been several accidents and deaths involving these recreational vehicles. These vehicles pose safety hazards for drivers and for the public. I would like to see our town be more proactive in tackling this issue. Front on and mount a public education and awareness campaign. I would like to see actions taken similar to what is happening in Flat Rock and Pooch Cove. I would also like to see some brainstorming about what can physically be done to lessen the problem. Getting more monitoring and enforcement from the ERSB is fine, but our town needs to address this issue directly with the residents. I think it's time for our town and council to take serious action to this. Thank you, Madeline. Madeline, I couldn't agree with you more. The number of ATVs and dirt bikes that have been going up and down the road, and it's not just our town, it's everywhere. Everybody I talk to, from Pooch Cove to Torbay, CBS, even in Mount Pearl in the middle of the city, they got dirt bikes and ATVs got up and down the roads. The ultimate enforcement of that has to be the RNC. They're the only ones, they're our police force, they're the only ones who can do it, unfortunately, and they don't have enough resources as it stands. However, I will echo the Deputy Mayor's sentiment that in the last number of weeks, maybe the last month, 3 weeks definitely, I've seen a lot more presence of RNC in town Torbay and down our way, and that comes as a result of us making inquiries and calls, residents making inquiries and calls, because ultimately when you only have a certain number of traffic patrol vehicles or whatever they have, the squeaky wheel is going to get the grease. So we have to make sure that we make the police aware of these issues. To your point about public awareness campaign, I see no reason why we wouldn't do that. I know that Pooch Cove and Flat Rock have done it. We've done similar ones. We've had social media posts about ATVs and dirt bikes. I've seen them over the last few months. Well, when we've been doing them, I know we do communicate. I communicate to residents on what to do when you see that. I know that our commissioners are paying attention. I was talking to them the other day, and they said in order for them to be able to get the police to take an action, they need to get a video of the bike, they need to be able to identify who the person is, and they need to be able to identify where they live. So if they can't do all those three things, then they're limited in what information they can pass on to the RNC that they can act on absent of being there. So, you know, parents need to be cognizant of the vehicles that they're giving their kids to drive. You know, we do live in a rural community, and there is lots of places to go up in the woods and up in the back trails where it's appropriate and it's safe and it's fun to go on ATVs and dirt bikes. And I mean, people are going to do that. They've done it. We did it when we were kids, and you know, my grandkids, if I ever have any, will probably do it. But it has to be done safely, and people need to stay off the roads. And with that, I think I addressed all of your parts. Did I, Don?
We have a second email, Mayor, for the
okay.
Q&A that was addressed to you and I regarding water quality.
Okay. All right. So, all right. This is from Paula Lancaster.
Yeah.
This is a good meeting. Thank you all for doing, especially during COVID. Excuse me. I was happy to hear the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Glenn speak positively about residents' engagement on the subject of swimming pools. I'd like to propose the Council invite residents and public engagement on another matter as also current Some are specific. The water quality at the tap for drinking water and laundry, specifically the experience of some residents on town water with smelly and discolored tap water during the summer described as mild, earthy, boggy reeks. It may be helpful to have an overview assessment that can be only happen. Example, how many homes are impacted, how long does it last, what is the cost, financial inconvenience to residents who are impacted. Example, buying bottled water, installing filter systems, taking out laundry to avoid musty, discolored clothes. Overall, the views of residents, what the information does town have to residents. Okay. Oh, thank you. Don't read the next part, so I won't. But to your point, I know that I pay attention to the areas of town where we're having issues. I know our public works staff also pays attention. I know that I grew up on Enemy Line, and my parents are still on the water. They've been on it since 1978 or whatever, whenever it was. And for some reason we're there too, on that spot, there's never a problem with the water. It never smells, it's never discolored, there's never anything. It's always best kind, even if there's flushing going on or whatever. So obviously, some areas of the town are more sensitive to the impacts of what happens at the pond with regards to, I think they call it turbidity, with the organics and stuff that's in the pond that makes it boggy and smelly. That was one of our main objectives with trying to get a new water treatment plant actually installed on that pond last year. And, you know, right now, the treatment that we do on the town water is very basic. It's chlorination to make sure that the water is safe to drink. There's no bacteria in it. It's tested all the time. The issues with regards to discoloration and boggy and, you know, those are in different areas of the town. I know some areas are more susceptible than others. And to your point about keeping track of that and getting that information from residents, if they are having that issue, send us in that. So then maybe we can map something and look at the weather and what is what and where are we ditching here or where are we doing flushing this week here, or, you know, and try and pinpoint something. Maybe we might have a crack in the pipe on the ground where stuff is leaking in. We, you know, I know that we do leak testing all the time and we try and figure out what's what. So, you know, there's no suggestion or idea that's bad. It's, you know, I love getting ideas from residents because they can't expect, well, I can't expect, I guess, but they expect council to have all the answers all the time. And, you know, we try our best to have them, and our staff tries our best to get them. And there's nothing wrong with getting suggestion or a bit of ideas and stuff from residents, because a lot of times you don't know what someone's background is. They might have been through the exact same thing before. So with that, thank you for your questions. There's no more, is it, Don? I'm not taking any more anyway. It's too late. Our next public council meeting, and I think this will hopefully be our last one in our once-a-month cycle, and then we'll try and get back to some kind of regular schedule, provided COVID stays asleep and don't come bother us too much anymore. But it will be Tuesday, August 25th at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chambers in the Torbay Town Hall. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Councillor Martin, what? I thought you were going to sleep. Second, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.